There comes a sacred moment in every life when the invisible begins to move, when what once felt heavy begins to lift, and you can sense something is shifting. You can't quite explain it, but deep within, you know. The tide has turned in your favor. This shift doesn't begin outside of you. It begins in the silence. When you dare to believe that what you desire is already yours. The world may look unchanged. The facts may still argue against you, but faith knows what reason cannot see. Everything you see around you is a mirror, a reflection of what you have been assuming to be true about yourself. Change that assumption, and you change the reflection. When you decide, I am already favored, already blessed, already chosen, life rearranges itself to make it so. The shift has begun, not because the world is suddenly different, but because you are. You have stopped rehearsing your limitations. You have stopped repeating the old story. You have turned inward and begun to see yourself as the one who already possesses what you once chased. This is the divine law at work. The outer must conform to the inner. The moment you accept that truth, the process is set in motion. Everything begins moving toward the fulfillment of your new assumption. Doors open, paths appear, people show up. What once resisted you now recognizes you. It may not look like progress at first. Sometimes the old must crumble before the new can rise. But even the crumbling is favor. Even the detours are alignment. When life seems to fall apart, it's only falling into place at a higher level. So do not look to appearances. Feel the reality within. Live in the end of your desire. Walk through your days as though it is already done, because in the unseen, it is. The shift is not coming, it has already begun. You are being guided, favored, and supported in ways beyond your comprehension. The old patterns are dissolving. The old limitations are losing power. Every cell of your being is aligning with your higher vision. This is your season of transformation. Everything is changing, not to test you, but to bless you. Everything is turning in your favor, even the things that don't yet make sense. Trust the divine process. Trust the unseen hand that moves the pieces perfectly. Stand tall in your faith. Speak as though it's already yours. Feel as though it's already here. The shift has begun, and this time it's permanent. The unseen world governs the seen world. Everything you experience externally is an echo of your inner state of being. The greatest illusion of human life is believing that the world outside of us holds power over us. We are taught to react, to adjust, to adapt to circumstances as though they were independent forces shaping our destiny. Yet the truth is far more profound. The outer world is only a reflection, a mirror image of what we hold within. What we see, touch, and live through is not a cause, it is an effect. The cause is invisible, rooted in the thoughts we nurture, the emotions we dwell in, and the beliefs we quietly entertain when no one is watching. The law changes to a loving. We talk, we walk, we dream. Every experience in your life, every triumph and every struggle has its origin in this unseen realm of consciousness. It is not chance, not luck, not even effort, that shapes your reality, but the vibration of your inner state. When you live in fear, the world mirrors fear back to you through delays, conflicts, and disappointments. When you live in peace, life responds with harmony. The external merely obeys the internal, the way a shadow follows the body that casts it. This is why true transformation never begins with circumstances. It begins with awareness. It begins when you realize that changing the world without changing the self is like repainting the reflection in a mirror and expecting the face to change. To alter the reflection, you must become something new within. The invisible thoughts, the quiet assumptions, the inner conversations you repeat daily, they are the architects of your world. The unseen governs the seen. When you understand this truth, you stop fighting life. You stop blaming conditions, people, and time. You begin to see that your outer experiences are invitations, not punishments, pointing you back to what must be shifted within. If your relationships feel distant, ask where in your heart you have been withholding love. If opportunities seem scarce, ask where in your mind you have been doubting your worth. Every external experience reveals the invisible pattern of thought that produced it. The world is faithful to the image you hold of yourself. You cannot experience what you have not assumed to be true in consciousness. The world bows to your dominant belief, even if that belief is hidden behind words of faith. This is why you must tend carefully to your inner garden. Every thought is a seed, and the harvest must come. Choose thoughts that align with the life you wish to live, and reality will reshape itself accordingly. The unseen world is not distant, it is immediate, personal, and responsive. It moves with your every feeling. The moment you lift your inner state to one of gratitude, expectancy, and quiet confidence, the unseen begins to stir. Circumstances realign, people shift, opportunities emerge. The outer begins to echo the new song of your soul. A shift begins the moment you change your assumption. Life rearranges itself to match the new belief you hold as true. Everything that happens to you, everything that unfolds in your experience, originates from what you assume to be real about yourself and your world. Assumptions are not mere thoughts. They are deeply held convictions, often quiet and unconscious, about what is possible for you. They are the hidden roots beneath the visible tree of your life. What you assume becomes the law of your experience, and until that assumption changes, nothing truly changes, no matter how much effort you exert. The world around you is fluid, responsive, and obedient to the inner blueprint of your belief. You may think that change requires time, opportunity, or external conditions to improve, but it doesn't. The real transformation occurs the instant you adopt a new inner stance, a new certainty of being. When you dare to assume, with conviction, that you already are the person you desire to be, the energy of life begins to organize itself to mirror that state back to you. You do not have to force it, manipulate it, or beg for it. Life knows exactly how to bring the outer picture into harmony with your inner conviction. This is the mystery of the shift. It does not begin when circumstances appear to improve, but when you decide within yourself to see differently. The moment you change the way you perceive yourself, from limited to capable, from unworthy to chosen, from overlooked to favored, the universe begins its invisible work. People, events, and situations start moving in unseen ways, forming the bridge of incidents that will lead you effortlessly to the fulfillment of your new assumption. It may look like coincidence, but it is divine orchestration. Most people wait for evidence before they believe, but the wise understand that evidence follows belief. The outer is simply catching up to the inner decision. The shift begins when you no longer seek proof, but live as though your desire were already real. You walk differently, speak differently, and think differently because your assumption has changed. That inner certainty radiates through your words and actions, and reality has no choice but to conform. Changing your assumption is not pretending or wishing, it is awakening to a deeper truth about who you are, the creative power behind your own experience. You assume because you know that consciousness creates. You choose your belief not because the world confirms it, but because you understand that your belief will make the world confirm it. So, when you find yourself trapped in old patterns, stop struggling against the visible facts. Instead, enter the inner realm and make a new assumption. Declare it to yourself quietly but firmly, I am already living in my desired reality. Feel the relief, the joy, the peace of that truth. Remain faithful to that feeling and watch how life, in its infinite intelligence, rearranges itself with perfect precision to reflect your new state of being. The shift begins the moment you do. You are not waiting for change, you are becoming it. As your inner vibration shifts, reality must follow. The idea of waiting for life to improve keeps countless souls in a quiet state of stagnation. They wait for better timing, for doors to open, for signs to appear, but nothing truly changes through waiting. Real transformation happens when you awaken to the truth that change is not something that comes to you, it is something that flows from you. The energy you carry, your vibration, your mood, your self-concept is constantly creating. Every thought, emotion, and mental image you hold is sending a signal to the universe, declaring who you believe yourself to be. Life, then, mirrors that belief with unwavering precision. To become the change means to embody within yourself the very reality you seek. You do not wait for joy to appear before you feel joyful. You choose joy, and joy calls to itself. You do not wait for love to arrive before you feel loved. You cultivate love within, and love manifests in form. This is not a metaphor, it is a spiritual law. The outer world cannot resist the dominant vibration you hold inside. As your inner frequency rises, life must rearrange itself to match it. Just as a tuning fork vibrates in harmony with another, many people live as though they are powerless observers of life, hoping something external will shift so that they can finally feel better. But the secret is that the moment you lift your state of being, the moment you choose to feel the reality of your desire now, you have already begun the transformation. You become aligned with the new version of yourself, the one who no longer seeks but possesses, no longer doubts but knows. The more you dwell in that state, the faster your physical world catches up. Becoming change requires courage, for it demands that you release your old story, the version of yourself that explains why things haven't worked, why they're hard, why you must wait. That identity feels familiar, even safe, but it is the very vibration that sustains your current reality. When you decide to embody a higher state, confidence, abundance, peace, or purpose, you dissolve the energetic patterns that held you in limitation. You do not need to force the outer world to comply. The unseen laws of consciousness ensure that as the inner state changes, the reflection must follow. Imagine your life as a mirror. You cannot smile at your reflection until you smile first. In the same way, you cannot see outer transformation until you radiate inner transformation. The shift is instant, though the visible results unfold naturally over time. As you persist in your new vibration, walking, speaking, and acting from that elevated state, life bends toward your new reality. You are not a passive participant in creation, you are the cause of it. Every moment you choose a higher thought, a higher feeling, a higher assumption, you are becoming the very change you once longed for. And when you become it within, the world has no choice but to reflect it without. Circumstances are not causes, they are reflections. Every event is simply mirroring your consciousness back to you. This truth, once fully understood, dissolves the illusion of victimhood and restores your creative power. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. Every situation, whether pleasant or painful, is a projection of your inner state made visible. The outer world is not the author of your story, it is the page upon which your inner assumptions are written. When you understand this, you stop fighting the mirror and start transforming the image within. Most people live believing that circumstances are the source of their feelings. They think, I'm unhappy because of what's happening, or I'm confident because things are working out. Yet the law is the reverse. Your feelings and beliefs are what shape what happens. The world is your mirror, faithfully reflecting your dominant state of consciousness. When you hold a belief long enough of lack, fear, rejection, or unworthiness, that vibration impresses itself upon reality. And life obliges by bringing you experiences that match it, not as punishment, but as a revelation, to show you what is active within you. When you meet difficulty, do not resist it. See it as feedback, a reflection of where your consciousness has been dwelling. The event is not the enemy. It is information. It shows you what you have been assuming to be true about yourself and your world. If you change the assumption, the reflection must change. This is the law. No mirror can show you a different face than the one you present before it. Likewise, no life circumstance can continue once its inner cause has been dissolved. To live wisely is to see every outer condition as an effect and to trace it back to its cause within. This empowers you to stop reacting and start creating. Instead of trying to fix a reflection, to rearrange the shadows, you adjust the light source, your own consciousness. When you assume the feeling of peace, even amid chaos, life begins to mirror that calm back to you through people, events, and outcomes that match it. When you assume success, opportunities seem to emerge out of nowhere. The mirror does not argue, it simply reflects. This understanding is not about blaming yourself for what you experience, it's about reclaiming responsibility for your creative power. You are not at the mercy of circumstances because circumstances have no independent life. They are animated by the state of being you occupy. When your inner conversations change, when you stop speaking lack and start speaking abundance, stop imagining rejection and start imagining acceptance, the film of reality begins to rewrite itself frame by frame. Every event, every delay, every encounter is showing you your own consciousness objectified. The world outside is your inner world, expressed in form. Change your consciousness and you change your world. The power has always been yours, hidden not in circumstances, but in the awareness that gives them meaning. The divine order never fails. When you align with faith and expectancy, even delays become divine timing. There is a perfect intelligence orchestrating every detail of your life, an unseen harmony that moves beyond logic and beyond the limits of time. This divine order operates with flawless precision. To the mind, it may appear as delay, uncertainty, or even disappointment, but from the higher perspective of spirit, it is all unfolding in exact alignment with your growth, your readiness, and your destiny. Nothing is ever late. Nothing is ever lost. Everything is arriving exactly when it should, in the perfect sequence for your evolution. Faith is the bridge between your desire and its manifestation. When you live in faith, you live in harmony with divine order. You stop striving and start trusting. You no longer chase outcomes or force results. Instead, you hold your vision in calm expectancy, knowing that what is yours cannot be taken, delayed, or denied. Faith is not passive waiting. It is active knowing. It is the quiet confidence that beneath the appearance of stillness, the unseen forces of life are moving mountains on your behalf. When you align yourself with this truth, your energy shifts from anxiety to assurance. You stop asking, when will it happen? And begin to declare, it is already happening, though I cannot yet see it. The vibration of that certainty is what opens the way for divine order to express itself without resistance. What once looked like obstacles begin to reveal themselves as stepping stones. The detours you resented turn out to be divine redirections, placing you in the right place, at the right time, with the right people, and transform you into every opportunity and into the right life. The ego wants control. It wants to predict, to plan, to measure progress. But the divine plan is woven from threads of infinite wisdom, and often what seems like delay is preparation. The unseen is aligning circumstances in ways your mind could never calculate. Sometimes the timing must wait until another heart softens, another door opens, or another lesson within you takes root. The divine order never forgets, never overlooks, never fails. It remembers the vibration of every prayer and responds with precision. Faith and expectancy are your alignment tools. Faith says, I trust that the unseen is working perfectly. Expectancy says, I am ready to receive. Together, they tune your inner being to the rhythm of divine timing. Even when appearances suggest stillness, faith whispers, something is happening. Even when the road seems uncertain, expectancy assures it's unfolding exactly as it should. Even when the road seems uncertain, expectancy assures it's unfolding exactly as it should. Every delay is a sacred interval in which life is preparing you for what you have asked for. If you could see the divine choreography behind every pause, you would never doubt again. The divine order never fails. It cannot. Its wisdom is infinite, its timing flawless. And when you align your heart with trust, patience, and joyful expectancy, you will discover that everything you desire has been on its way all along, moving toward you with divine precision, right on time. The new world is already here. Your task is not to create it, but to awaken to it within your imagination and walk as if it were done. So often we believe that change lies somewhere ahead, that the life we desire exists in some distant future we must chase or earn, yet the truth is far more powerful. What you seek is not coming, it already exists. Every possible reality already lives in the unseen dimension of consciousness. Possible reality already lives in the unseen dimension of consciousness. You do not create your desires from nothing. You awaken to the dimension where they already exist. The act of creation is really the act of recognition, realizing that the world you long for is already complete and waiting for your awareness to claim it. Imagination is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is not mere fantasy, it is the creative act of God expressing through you. When you imagine something with conviction and feeling, you are tuning your consciousness to that reality. You are aligning your inner frequency with the world in which that vision is already true. The moment you do this sincerely, the moment you feel yourself in possession of your desire, the unseen begins to rearrange itself to reflect that state. Life must mirror your awareness, for consciousness is the only true cause. The mistake many make is believing they must work, struggle, or strive to make their dreams real, but creation is already finished. Everything you could ever hope for, peace, abundance, love, purpose, exists now in potential form. The door to that reality opens not through effort, but through belief. You awaken to it by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by living in the end of your desire as if it were already so. This is not pretending, it is participating in divine law. When you walk as though it is done, you signal to the universe that you have recognized your true state, and reality responds accordingly. The new world you desire is not separate from you, it exists within you. It is the dimension of consciousness that corresponds to your highest vision of yourself. Every time you close your eyes and feel the reality of your fulfilled desire, not as a hope, but as a fact, you step into that world. You begin to see differently, act differently, speak differently. You carry a new vibration, and that vibration calls forth the outer conditions that match it. There is no future moment when you will become who you wish to be. There is only the now in which you accept that you already are. The new world reveals itself when you stop waiting for proof and start walking in faith. The outer world bends to the inner certainty. You are not here to struggle for creation. You are here to awaken to completion. Everything you've asked for is already done. Your task is to remember it, to feel it, to live as though it were already real. When you do, the invisible becomes visible, and the new world that always existed within you unfolds before your eyes. The truth is simple, yet profoundly powerful. Everything begins and ends within you. The world you experience is not happening to you. It is happening through you. The unseen governs the seen. The shift does not wait for external permission. It begins the instant you choose to see differently, to believe differently, to be differently. You are not waiting for change, you are becoming the change. As your inner vibration lifts, life responds in kind. The circumstances that once seemed immovable begin to bend to your new state of consciousness. The old dissolves, the new emerges, and everything rearranges itself to match your renewed belief in who you are and what you deserve. Remember, nothing is ever against you. Even what appears as delay or setback is divine order at work, aligning the perfect sequence for your highest good. Trust the process. Rest in faith. Know that the divine cannot fail. The moment you imagine your new world and walk as if it were already done, you step into the reality that has been waiting for you all along. The shift has begun, not somewhere out there, but within you. Every thought, every assumption, every quiet moment of faith is shaping the world you will soon see with your eyes. So hold your vision, stay in the feeling of fulfillment, and walk forward, knowing that everything is now moving in your favor. Thank you for allowing these words to speak to your spirit. May they remind you of the power that lives within you, the power to create, to transform, and to awaken. The shift is here, and it's yours. There is a silent current moving through your life, unseen, yet undeniably real. Everything around you, every circumstance, every person, every challenge is quietly shifting in your favor. You may not see it yet, but the tide is turning, and it is moving toward your victory. The first truth to understand is that your reality begins in your imagination. Whatever you hold in your mind with conviction and feeling begins to shape the world around you. When you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, your life bends to reflect that inner certainty. Do not underestimate the power of your mind. It is not merely a tool, it is the forge of your reality. Even when the external world seems stagnant, know this: the invisible shift is already happening. Forces beyond your perception are arranging events and people to bring about what you desire. The universe does not work with hesitation. It moves quietly, methodically, always toward the realization of what your heart has imagined. Trust the process, even when you cannot yet see it. But belief alone is not enough. You must persist in the feeling of your fulfilled desire. Do not let doubts creep in. Do not allow impatience to cloud your vision. Every moment you maintain the inner certainty, you are creating an irresistible momentum that life must reflect. Persistence is the key. The world cannot deny the conviction of a determined heart. Release all resistance. The moment you let go of fear, worry, and frustration, the flow of life moves unhindered toward you. Struggle is unnecessary. It only delays what is already destined for you. Surrender to the natural unfolding and allow miracles to happen with ease. Imagination is your creative power. Live in the end of your desire. See it, feel it, embrace it, as though it is already yours. By immersing yourself in this inner reality, you invite the physical world to follow. Every reality begins as a mental picture. Every success begins as an imagined certainty. Trust the timing of life. What seems delayed is not denial, it is preparation. Everything is being orchestrated with perfect precision to bring your desires in the most favorable way. There is divine timing at work, and it always works in your favor. So hold fast. Do not give up. Every unseen shift, every hidden movement, every quiet alignment is leading you toward your breakthrough. Everything is shifting in your favor. Trust it, believe it, feel it, and watch the impossible become inevitable. Your reality begins not in the world around you, but in the silent creative depths of your imagination. Everything you see, experience, and encounter in your life is a reflection of the beliefs you hold within. The moment you realize that your outer world is a mirror of your inner state, you step into a place of power. For the world does not create you. You create the world by the assumptions you persist in. This is a secret that many overlook. Life does not respond to your complaints, your fears, or even your wishes without feeling. It responds to the living, vibrant conviction that you hold in your mind and heart. When you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, when you live as though what you seek has already been accomplished, life itself begins to rearrange. People, circumstances, and opportunities align in ways that seem miraculous, yet they are the natural consequence of your inner state. It is not enough to merely hope or wish for change. Hope is weak, fleeting, and uncertain, and the outer world senses this uncertainty. Your imagination, however, is powerful and tangible. By imagining vividly, by entering the state where your desire is already realized, you send a signal to the universe that your fulfillment is inevitable. It is not a distant possibility, it is a present reality, experienced first in the inner world before manifesting in the physical. When you carry this assumption consistently, it impresses itself upon your consciousness so deeply that your actions, decisions, and reactions begin to align with that reality. You start to notice opportunities that were invisible before. You begin to meet people who serve as instruments of your vision. Life unfolds in a way that confirms your inner assumption. Your imagination is the divine tool through which you mold your reality. To exercise this power, you must enter the end state of your desire. Feel it in your body, in your heart, and in your mind. See yourself living the life you want, not someday, but now. Sense the emotions of fulfillment, gratitude, and joy as if they are already yours. This feeling is the signal that transforms mere thought into creation. The universe moves to match the frequency of your inner state. Resistance, doubt, and negativity will try to interrupt this process, but persistence and faith are your allies. The more you dwell in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, the stronger and more undeniable the impression becomes. Understand that the outer world is never separate from you. Every event, every encounter, every circumstance is a reflection of what you carry inside. If your imagination is strong, clear, and unwavering, the world will reflect that strength back to you. If your inner state is uncertain or fearful, life will mirror that uncertainty. This is the essence of creation. You do not chase reality, you embody it. By assuming the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you take the first step in reshaping everything around you. Life reorganizes itself in response, and what once seemed impossible becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Even when everything around you appears still, when life seems to stall and circumstances seem unmoving, an invisible current is flowing beneath the surface, quietly rearranging reality in your favor. Most people judge the world by what they see with their eyes, forgetting that the visible world is always preceded by the invisible. What appears as delay or stagnation is not failure. It is the hidden preparation for your desire to manifest. The universe is always working, always moving, always aligning events, opportunities, and people, even when you cannot yet perceive it. This unseen shift is subtle, delicate, and profound, and it is entirely in your favor. The moment you understand that the physical world is a reflection of the invisible, you will no longer be shaken by what seems like inaction. The unseen forces are already at work. They move in perfect harmony with your inner assumption, rearranging circumstances in ways that often appear miraculous. These forces do not operate randomly. They respond to the frequency of your consciousness. Every belief, every feeling, every thought you hold is a vibration that communicates to the universe what reality you wish to inhabit. When you persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled, unseen arrangements begin to take shape. Doors open before you, connections are made, and opportunities present themselves naturally. You may not see the mechanism and you may not feel the shift immediately, but it is happening. Trust in the quiet, because what is invisible is always more powerful than what is visible. It is essential to understand that the shift always precedes the manifestation. Life does not simply hand you your desires in a moment of need. It first aligns the circumstances, the people, and the events to make that desire inevitable. Just as a seed must first develop roots beneath the soil before it sprouts into the sunlight, your dream must first take form in the invisible realm before it appears in the world of matter. To panic, to doubt, or to rush the process is to resist the very natural order that is working for you. Patience is not passivity, it is trust in the creative law that governs reality. The more you can internalize this truth, the less power the outer world has to disturb your inner peace. Circumstances are never final, they are temporary indicators that the unseen is still aligning. Even when setbacks appear, they are often part of a larger orchestration, positioning you for the most favorable outcome. You are not witnessing delay, you are witnessing preparation. Your task is not to force results, but to remain steadfast in the inner vision, to continue assuming the state of fulfillment, and to carry the feeling of the end as your present reality. Know that this invisible shift is relentless, precise, and inevitable. Your desire is already on its way to you. The universe is not late. It is perfectly timed. The unseen forces are constantly at work, molding the circumstances so that when the manifestation appears, it does so effortlessly and completely. Your only requirement is to trust, to persist, and to hold unwavering faith in the unseen process. What is invisible now will soon be visible, and everything that is shifting in your favor will emerge as proof of the power of belief, patience, and alignment with the creative law. The power of your desire is not measured by how loudly you declare it or by the force with which you wish for it. It is measured by the persistence of the feeling you carry within. It is easy to become distracted by appearances, by circumstances that seem to contradict your dreams, or by voices, both external and internal, that whisper doubt. Yet true manifestation does not depend on the external world. It depends entirely on your inner state. The moment you persist in the feeling of your desire fulfilled, living as though it is already yours, you set into motion an inevitability that the outer world cannot resist. This is the secret that transforms dreams into reality. The continuity of feeling, the unwavering assumption that your desire exists now. To persist in feeling means to occupy your inner world with the end result, without hesitation, without interruption, and without compromise. Do not allow fleeting doubts or momentary disappointments to break the continuity of your assumption. Life will constantly challenge you. It will present obstacles, delays, and contradictions. These are not signs that your desire is failing. They are tests of your persistence. Every time you return to the feeling of your fulfilled desire, every time you re-enter the state of its already having been accomplished, you reinforce the vibration that must eventually be reflected in your external world. Continuity is the bridge between imagination and reality, between thought and matter. And matter, the outer world cannot reflect what your inner state does not first hold. People, circumstances, and events are drawn to the frequency you maintain. When your inner state is consistent, when your feeling of fulfillment is steady and unwavering, life aligns to mirror it. The more you persist in feeling, the more inevitable your manifestation becomes. Even when the world appears contrary, persistence creates a gravitational pull that cannot be denied. What seems like opposition is merely the outer world waiting to catch up with the state of consciousness you have assumed. Persistence is also an act of faith. It is faith not in what you see, but in what you imagine. It is the belief that what you have assumed as true in your inner world will inevitably appear in your outer world. This faith is not passive. It is active, vibrant, and alive. Every thought, every feeling, every moment spent in the inner reality of fulfillment strengthens the invisible threads that bind your desire to its manifestation. Impatience, worry, or distraction weakens these threads, while steadfast feeling reinforces them until the external world must conform. Understand that persistence is not measured in days or months. It is measured in consistency of state. It is the unbroken commitment to live in the end, to feel the reality of your desire now, to ignore appearances, and to hold unwavering conviction. When you persist, life cannot help but yield. The outer world has no choice but to reflect the state you have assumed. Your desire moves from imagination to inevitability, from thought to experience, from invisible assumption to visible manifestation. Continuity of feeling is the law through which the impossible becomes inevitable, and the dreams you hold most dear become your living reality. Resistance is the invisible barrier that prevents your desires from manifesting. It is the tension created by doubt, fear, and impatience, the inner struggle against the natural flow of life. When you wrestle with circumstances, when you fight against what seems to be, you only strengthen the very obstacle you wish to overcome. The universe responds not to struggle, but to the state of mind you maintain. Every moment you resist, every thought of worry or fear acts like a block, slowing the movement of your desire from imagination into reality. It is not the world that delays your fulfillment. It is your resistance that interrupts the seamless flow of life that is already working in your favor. To release resistance is to surrender, to trust, and to allow the natural unfolding of events to carry you toward your desire. Surrender does not mean inaction or passivity. It means alignment. It means maintaining your inner assumption of the fulfilled desire while letting go of struggle. When you no longer oppose the present moment, when you cease to fret over how or when your desire will manifest, you create space for the invisible currents of life to bring your vision into form. This is the paradox of creation. By releasing struggle, you gain control. By surrendering, you command the manifestation of your desire. Fear is one of the most common forms of resistance. It whispers that what you want is impossible, that you are not worthy, or that circumstances are against you. Doubt, likewise, undermines your inner conviction, tempting you to look to the outer world for proof. Impatience rushes you to act before the invisible forces are fully aligned. All of these are signs that you are operating from a place of resistance rather than trust. The solution is simple but profound. Return continually to the inner state of peace, assurance, and certainty. Let the feeling of your desire fulfilled dominate your consciousness. Live as if the end has already come, and allow life to orchestrate the details. Understand that the universe is always working, always arranging, always moving to fulfill your desire. The unseen is precise, and the natural order is perfect. When you resist, you clash with this order. When you surrender, you align with it. This alignment is effortless. It requires no struggle, no frantic effort, no desperate attempts to control outcomes. All that is required is faith, patience, and the willingness to allow life to bring your desire in its own perfect way. Every delay, every obstacle, every unexpected turn is simply life preparing the optimal conditions for your fulfillment. Only a state of unconditional fulfillment. By releasing resistance, you move from tension to flow, from fear to faith, from struggle to effortless creation. You free yourself to inhabit the reality you have imagined. You understand that the outer world cannot resist the conviction of your inner state. As you surrender, the doors that seemed closed begin to open. The pathways that seemed blocked clear, and the invisible forces align with precision, bringing your desire into manifestation. Everything is already shifting in your favor, and resistance is the only thing that could prevent you from seeing it. Let go, trust the process, and know that life is unfolding exactly as it should, carrying you to the reality your heart has imagined. Every new reality begins in the mind. The world you see around you is not the starting point. It is the reflection of what has already been conceived in consciousness. Imagination is not a mere tool for idle dreaming. It is the creative force, the divine instrument through which life itself is shaped. Whatever you wish to experience, whatever success, joy, or fulfillment you desire, first exists as a mental picture within you. Before a tree grows, before a building is constructed, before any achievement is realized, it begins as a vision, a clear inner representation that precedes all physical manifestation. To ignore the power of imagination is to ignore the very mechanism through which life responds to consciousness. To wield this creative force effectively, you must live in the end. This means inhabiting the state of your desire fulfilled, imagining the result with vivid detail, and most importantly, with deep emotion. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the relief, the excitement, the gratitude of having what you seek. Emotions are the bridge between imagination and reality. They give life to the mental picture and impress it upon the fabric of existence. The universe does not distinguish between imagination and reality. It responds to the feeling and conviction behind the inner picture. The more real it feels to you, the sooner it becomes inevitable in the physical world. Living in the end is not simply visualizing the outcome, it is embodying it. See yourself walking through the day as if your desire has already been fulfilled. Hear the sounds, notice the surroundings, feel the sensations of your new reality. The mind and body must align with the imagined state. This alignment signals to life that your fulfillment is not hypothetical but actual. The more consistently you enter this state, the more the outer world is compelled to mirror it. You are as the sea is calm and mostly clear. You are as the sea is calm and mostly clear. Opportunities, people, and circumstances begin to appear in perfect harmony with the inner reality you hold. What once seemed distant or impossible now becomes natural and inevitable. The creative force of imagination is also timeless. Past failures, current circumstances, or apparent impossibilities have no power over it. When you imagine with conviction, the mental picture exists beyond the constraints of time, calling the future into existence before it appears physically. This is the essence of manifestation. The future is already here in consciousness. and your imagination simply allows it to take form in the material world. By repeatedly dwelling in the end, by reinforcing the mental picture with faith and feeling, you set in motion an invisible current that life must honor. Do not underestimate the simplicity and power of this process. The secret of all creation is imagination. Whatever you vividly assume and persist in feeling as real, life is compelled to bring into existence. Every great achievement, every success story, every transformation in history began with this invisible act of mental creation. By embracing your imagination as the creative force, by living in the end, and by infusing your vision with deep emotion, you become the architect of your own reality. The life you desire is not waiting for permission, it is waiting for your inner assumption to claim it as already yours. Faith in divine timing is the understanding that the universe operates with perfect precision. Even when life appears to move slowly or obstacles seem to delay your desires. What seems like a pause, a setback, or a disappointment is never truly a denial of your wish. It is the meticulous preparation of circumstances, people, and opportunities to ensure that your manifestation arrives in the most favorable way. Life is orchestrated with an intelligence far beyond what the conscious mind can perceive. Every moment, every event, and every interaction is part of a grand design, aligning invisibly to bring your desire to fruition. To have faith in divine timing is to trust that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, and nothing is absent from the unfolding of your life. Delays are often misunderstood as failure, but they are in reality the proof of the universe's perfect planning. If you push too hard, act prematurely, or try to force results, you may disrupt the natural order that is working in your favor. The outer world cannot create what the inner world has not yet fully prepared. And the timing of life ensures that everything falls into place with maximum impact. Faith in divine timing is the recognition that what you desire is already yours in the unseen realm, and that the universe is simply aligning the perfect circumstances to bring it into your physical experience. Patience, therefore, is not passive waiting. It is active trust in the creative law that governs reality. To cultivate this faith, you must let go of anxiety and impatience. Doubts arise when you focus on appearances rather than the invisible truth that your desire exists in the inner world and that the external world will inevitably reflect it. Every moment that seems empty or delayed is a moment in which unseen forces are meticulously arranging everything for your good. This faith transforms waiting from a period of frustration into a period of empowerment. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are in harmony with the intelligent flow of life. You understand that every delay, every twist, every unexpected turn is perfectly timed to maximize the impact of your fulfillment. Now, if that Mishka Stampa Saki, you are ready. Now, if that Mishka stands over you, cast a stone. Faith in divine timing also teaches you to remain steadfast in your inner state, regardless of external appearances. Life cannot contradict what has already been assumed in consciousness. Your inner certainty, your assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, is the signal that guides the unseen forces of the universe. The outer world may lag, but it is only catching up with the state you have already established within. The more unwavering your faith, the swifter and smoother the manifestation. This is why patience and persistence are inseparable from the principle of divine timing. Understanding divine timing allows you to move through life with confidence, grace, and peace. You no longer rush, struggle, or despair, because you know that every moment is working for you, arranging the circumstances in the exact way necessary to bring your desire to life. When you trust this timing, you align yourself with the invisible current of creation. You recognize that your desire is already fulfilled in the unseen, and all that remains is for the outer world to reflect it. Faith in divine timing transforms waiting into assurance, doubt into trust, and desire into inevitable reality, ensuring that everything unfolds perfectly in your favor. As we reflect on the truths we have explored today, remember this: everything is already shifting in your favor. Your inner belief shapes the world around you. The unseen forces are quietly rearranging circumstances, and persistence in feeling ensures that what you desire becomes inevitable. By releasing resistance, trusting the process, living in the end through your imagination, and having faith in divine timing, you align yourself with the effortless flow of life. The universe is conspiring on your behalf, orchestrating every detail to bring your dreams into manifestation. Your role is not to struggle or doubt, but to assume, to feel, and to trust, knowing that the reality you envision is already yours. So, do not give up. Stand firm in your vision, persist in your belief, and embrace the invisible currents working tirelessly for your good. Every moment, every event, every encounter is a step closer to the life you have imagined. The shift is happening, the alignment is taking place, and your fulfillment is inevitable. Thank you for opening your heart and mind today, for allowing these words to inspire belief and courage within you. May you move forward with unwavering faith, persistent feeling, and the certainty that life is working for you in ways beyond your imagination. Thank you. There comes a sacred moment in every life when what once felt distant begins to draw near, when the invisible becomes undeniable, and the shift that once seemed impossible starts to unfold quietly in your favor. You may not see the full picture yet, but something deep within you can already feel it, that inner knowing that whispers, "It has begun." The change didn't start when circumstances moved. It began when you did, when your awareness tilted from fear to faith, from waiting to knowing. Everything visible follows the unseen movement of your inner state. Long before the blessing arrives at your door, it has already been dispatched by your belief. The outer world is just a mirror. What you now see shifting around you is a reflection of what has shifted within you. That is the secret. The power that rearranges your world does not lie in effort or struggle, but in consciousness. The moment you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, a new reality is born. You are not hoping for change, you are embodying it. The universe has already begun its rearrangement, aligning people, places, and timing to deliver what you've believed. What once resisted you is now working for you. Every closed door was not rejection, but redirection. Every delay was divine synchronization. Do not judge by appearances. The surface may still look still, but beneath it, currents of favor are already in motion. The universe is rearranging itself to honor your new vibration. You've stepped into alignment, and now life must follow. Feel it now. as though everything has already turned. Let your inner conversation echo gratitude, not waiting. Speak as one who already stands in answered prayer. When you declare, I am favored, the world reshapes itself to mirror your declaration. The evidence may appear slowly, but the transformation is immediate. The unseen has already shifted. The change has already begun. Every moment you hold faith, you accelerate its unfolding. So stand firm, live as though the promise is already fulfilled, because it is. The universe never forgets a belief truly felt. The shift is here, and it is working for you. You are stepping into a chapter where what once resisted now assists, where what once delayed now delivers. You are not entering the season of change. You are the change. Everything is shifting in your favor, and the movement has already started. The unseen realm moves first. Before anything ever appears in your life, it is first conceived in the invisible, in thought, in imagination, in belief. Every transformation, every answered prayer, every breakthrough begins as a silent vibration in the unseen. It is the unseen that governs the seen, the invisible blueprint that dictates the physical form. What the mind consistently holds, the world inevitably reflects. So when we talk about a shift happening in your favor, we are not speaking of something that starts with outer evidence. It begins within you, in your consciousness, in your inner atmosphere, in the unseen movements of faith. You must understand that everything physical is a delayed echo of what has already occurred in the invisible realm. The seed is planted in imagination, watered by emotion, and nourished by belief until it takes form. That is why when you choose to change your thoughts, you are not engaging in wishful thinking, you are engaging in creation itself. The moment you assume something to be true and feel it deeply, you set unseen forces in motion. Circumstances, people, and opportunities begin to rearrange themselves to reflect that new inner state. It may seem invisible, but something is already shifting beyond the surface. Most people wait for proof before they believe. They look for visible signs before giving thanks. But true power lies in reversing the order, in believing before seeing. When you hold an inner knowing, when you see the unseen with the eyes of faith, the outer world must eventually comply. Reality is nothing but the projection of consciousness, and consciousness moves first. You cannot experience what you have not first accepted within. So if life seems quiet right now, do not mistake stillness for inactivity. Beneath the silence, divine orchestration is already at work. The unseen realm is arranging circumstances in your favor. Every prayer, every word of faith, every act of gratitude is forming the unseen pattern that will soon become your visible experience. The delay you perceive is not denial, it is gestation. The invisible is ripening into the visible, and the shift that began in silence will soon speak loudly through manifestation. That is why it is essential to guard your imagination and your inner dialogue. The unseen realm responds not to what you hope for, but to what you feel as real. If you dwell in fear, fear takes form. If you dwell in gratitude, gratitude multiplies. You are constantly sowing seeds into the unseen with your thoughts and emotions. Every word, every assumption is a creative act. So align yourself with what you wish to experience. See it, feel it, and know that it is already done. Everything you desire is already alive in the unseen, waiting for your belief to give it shape. When you align your inner world with faith, the unseen begins to move. And once it moves, the visible world must follow. The shift is already underway, even if your eyes have not yet caught up. Trust the unseen, for it is always the first to move in your favor. Assumption precedes manifestation. Everything that unfolds in your external world is born first in the inner sanctuary of belief. Life is not responding to what you want, but to what you assume to be true about yourself and your reality. Your assumptions, those quiet, consistent inner convictions, are the architects of your experience. Before anything can appear in the physical, it must first be accepted as true in the invisible theater of your mind. The outer world simply mirrors back the images you have already embraced within. When you assume something, you give it permission to exist. Assumption is not idle wishing or passive hope. It is the deliberate act of acceptance. It is the decision to see the end as already accomplished, to feel the fulfillment before it arrives. Every assumption, when sustained, hardens into fact. The conditions of your life, the people you meet, the opportunities you encounter, all are drawn into alignment with the vibration of your inner conviction. You are the living center of creation, and what you accept as real within you becomes the pattern that the world must reproduce. Many people believe that change begins with effort, with action, strategy, or circumstance. But the true seed of transformation is internal. When you shift your assumption, you shift your entire world. You can pray, visualize, and speak affirmations endlessly, but if your underlying assumption remains one of lack or doubt, nothing will change. The universe responds to your deepest knowing, not to your shallow desires. It is your inner yes that summons the visible proof. Every great manifestation begins with a moment of inner surrender, the instant you stop striving and start knowing. You assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and from that state, everything begins to rearrange. The unseen responds to your vibration, not your words. You do not wait for evidence. You live from the awareness that it is already done. And in time, the physical world bends to match that certainty. The law is unfailing. What you assume, you become. This assumption is not pretending, it is perceiving from the end. You shift your focus from how things appear to how they are in the unseen. When you occupy the feeling of the fulfilled desire, you broadcast a new frequency, and life echoes it back as circumstance. The moment you believe you are favored, life brings favor. When you assume abundance, abundance begins to flow. When you accept healing, wholeness manifests. The outer world has no choice but to yield to the power of your inner conviction. So guard what you assume about yourself. Every self-concept carries its own destiny. The world does not test your worth, it reflects your belief. You are always creating, not by force, but by assumption. Accept within what you desire without, and it must appear. This is the sacred rhythm of creation. Assumption first, manifestation second. Believe it is done, and the world will rise to prove you right. The old reality is dissolving. What you once saw as delay, disappointment, or even denial was never rejection from life. It was divine rearrangement. The universe has been quietly dismantling what no longer serves your growth, removing the weights that cannot travel with you into your next season. What felt like loss was not punishment, it was preparation. The old patterns, relationships, and opportunities that once fit perfectly are now being released because they no longer match the vibration of who you are becoming. You are evolving, and as you ascend in awareness, Everything that cannot sustain your higher purpose begins to fade. This process can feel uncomfortable because the human mind clings to the familiar even when it no longer nourishes the soul. You may look at what's leaving and wonder why, but the unseen intelligence guiding your path knows exactly what it's doing. Every closed door, every unexpected detour, every ending is a part of the sacred transition. The old reality is not being taken from you, it is dissolving because you have outgrown it. The shift is not punishment, but promotion. Life is making room for something higher, greater, and more aligned with your destiny. Think of it like the changing of seasons. Winter must release its grip before spring can bloom. The ground that once seemed barren is preparing to bring forth new life. Similarly, your old experiences, identities, and attachments are melting away so the new can take root. The people who walked away, the opportunities that disappeared, the dreams that didn't unfold as you planned, all of them were part of an old frequency. You cannot carry old energy into a new dimension of purpose. The divine rearrangement is not chaotic, it is precise. The universe never subtracts without intention. What appears to be the breaking down is actually the building up. Behind every ending is a hidden beginning, and behind every disappointment is a doorway to alignment. The old must fall away so that the new can stand. And though it may feel uncertain, trust that this is the necessary clearing before the breakthrough. The unseen realm has already completed what your eyes have yet to see. In truth, the old reality is not dying, it's transforming. You are stepping out of limitation, fear, and repetition into expansion, faith, and flow. The pieces of your life are not falling apart, they are falling into place. Every delay was divine timing, ensuring that what is meant for you arrives when you are ready to hold it. Nothing that belongs to your higher purpose can ever be lost. So let the old dissolve with gratitude. Bless what was, but release it freely. The rearrangement you are witnessing is sacred. It is the universe aligning your life with your truest self. The old is fading not because something went wrong, but because something right is finally unfolding. The past is closing gently, and the new has already begun to rise in its place. Faith is not waiting, it is knowing. It is not the passive hope that something might happen someday. It is the unshakable awareness that it already has. True faith stands in the fulfillment before it appears. It does not plead or beg, it rests. It speaks from the end, not toward it. Faith is the quiet confidence that creation has already responded to your inner conviction, even if your senses have not yet caught up. You do not wait for the shift, you stand in it. You feel the new reality as real, and the universe cannot resist responding to that certainty. Waiting implies distance. It suggests that what you desire is somewhere else, sometime later, dependent on external factors. But faith erases distance. It bridges the unseen and the seen by claiming the end as now. When you truly believe, you no longer look for signs, you become the sign. You live, speak, and move as though your prayer has already been answered. You act from fulfillment, not toward it. This is the creative power of faith. It summons the invisible into visibility. When you stand in faith, you stand in the finished work. You stop trying to make things happen and begin allowing them to unfold. You stop measuring progress by appearances and start measuring it by inner peace. Faith knows that everything is already working together in perfect order, even when the outer world still appears unchanged. The shift has already begun in the unseen. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the laws of creation are set in motion. From that point onward, all of life begins to move in harmony with your belief. Faith is the language of the unseen. It is not something you turn on and off depending on your mood or circumstances. It is a state of being. To walk in faith is to dwell continually in the awareness that what you desire is already yours. It's not about forcing yourself to believe. It's about resting in knowing. You feel the reality inwardly so deeply that the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. Creation obeys the vibration of conviction, not the noise of doubt. When you say, "I know it is done," you activate a frequency that calls forth alignment. People, opportunities, and events begin to appear as if by coincidence, but it is not coincidence. It is creation responding to your inner knowing. The path unfolds naturally because you are no longer pushing against life. You are flowing with it. You are walking in the finished state, and the finished state always reveals itself in perfect time. Faith is not waiting for the evidence. Faith is the evidence. It is the inner realization that compels outer manifestation. When you feel the end as real, creation has no choice but to obey. You do not chase what is already yours. You simply align with it. The moment you know it in spirit, you claim it in reality. That is the power of faith. It does not wait, it knows. Your inner dialogue builds the future. Every thought you think, every word you whisper in the silence of your mind is a seed planted in the soil of consciousness. You are never merely thinking, you are creating. The conversations you hold within yourself are blueprints that shape the structure of your outer world. Long before circumstances change, your self-talk determines their direction. Every time you rehearse fear, you water the roots of doubt. Every time you speak faith, you summon alignment. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you continuously declare to be true within. Your inner speech is the silent architect of destiny. Even when you say nothing aloud, you are always speaking inwardly, to yourself, to your circumstances, and to the unseen forces shaping your life. The tone of that inner conversation determines whether your future blooms or withers. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. You cannot dwell in lack and attract abundance. Every inner word carries creative power. The moment you accept an idea as real and repeat it inwardly, it begins to take form in your outer experience. Many people believe they are victims of circumstance, but in truth, they are victims of their own inner dialogue. The mind is constantly recording and replaying stories of who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible for you. If you do not take control of that conversation, it will default to old beliefs and past memories. But the moment you begin to speak consciously within, affirming what you desire as though it is already done, you rewrite the script of your future. The world must echo the frequency of your most dominant inner dialogue. To speak as if it's done is not to pretend, it is to create. When you declare within yourself, "I am favored, I am chosen, everything is working for me," you activate the law of assumption. You align your inner state with the reality you wish to see. The universe, being obedient to the vibration of certainty, begins to rearrange everything to match that truth. Outer change is not a matter of effort, but of consistency. Keep your inner words faithful to your desired outcome, and soon your life will begin to echo them back to you. You know, your inner dialogue is a sacred instrument, the language through which you speak with creation itself. Every affirmation, every inner vision, Every quiet word of gratitude becomes a living seed destined to sprout in time. You need not force the growth. You need only guard the garden. Speak life where you once spoke lack. Speak victory where you once rehearsed defeat. Speak peace where you once repeated fear. Life mirrors the tone of your conversation. So pay attention to what you say when no one is listening, for that is the language creation obeys. Speak as if it is done, and soon it will be. Your inner dialogue is not a reflection of the world. It is the command that shapes it. You have entered the season of visible transformation. What was once only a whisper in your spirit, what was once held quietly in the secret place of belief, is now beginning to take form before your eyes. The prayers you once spoke in faith are now gathering substance. The visions you once carried in silence are stepping into visibility. This is not the moment of waiting. This is the moment of unfolding. What began in the invisible realm is now revealing itself through tangible signs, divine alignments, and undeniable breakthroughs. The shift is not coming, it has already begun. For so long, you may have walked through seasons of stillness, wondering if anything was truly changing. It seemed as if heaven was silent and progress distant. But what you could not see was the intricate orchestration taking place beneath the surface. Every quiet act of faith, every moment of surrender, every inner declaration was shaping the unseen foundation of your new reality. Now that hidden work is rising to the surface. What was once concealed is now being revealed. The time of preparation is complete. Manifestation is here. Transformation never announces itself loudly in the beginning. It begins subtly, like the first rays of dawn before sunrise. The atmosphere starts to shift. Conversations change. Opportunities begin to appear. You sense momentum even before you see results. That's how divine timing works. It reveals itself in stages, ensuring that when the blessing arrives, you are ready to sustain it. You are no longer waiting for the right moment. You are the right moment. The world around you is adjusting to match who you have become internally. This is the season where evidence will follow belief. The doors that once seemed sealed are now unlocking effortlessly. The relationships, resources, and opportunities aligned with your higher purpose are finding you. You no longer have to chase what belongs to you. It is drawn to your vibration. The universe is mirroring your inner transformation by rearranging everything in your favor. What once resisted you now assists you because you have changed your inner frequency. You are no longer the person who doubted. You are the one who knows. The beauty of this season is that it carries both reward and responsibility. You are called not just to receive, but to embody the manifestation. Walk as though the promise has already been fulfilled. Speak with the authority of one who has seen the invisible and now watches it unfold. Gratitude is your posture. Faith is your atmosphere. What was once a distant dream is now a living reality because you dared to believe when nothing yet appeared. The shift is already in motion. The unseen work has broken through the surface, and the visible world is catching up with what your spirit has long known. You are standing in the evidence of answered prayer. The transformation is not ahead of you, it is here, alive, unfolding, and accelerating in your favor. The shift is not coming, it has begun. Everything that once seemed distant is now drawing near. You have stepped into a divine flow where what you once imagined is becoming visible, where what you once hoped for is taking form. The unseen has moved, and the visible is following. Every delay has served a purpose. Every closed door has redirected you toward alignment, and every silent season has built the strength required for your moment of manifestation. You are not waiting for change, you are living in it. This is the hour to walk with confidence, to speak with conviction, and to live as though the promise is already fulfilled, because it is. The shift is not a future event, it is your present reality. The old has dissolved, the new has begun, and everything is aligning in your favor. Stand in gratitude, not anticipation. Speak life, not lack. Believe not because you hope to see, but because you already know. The unseen realm has already completed the work, and the evidence is now unfolding before you. Hold fast to your vision, protect your faith, and remember that what you feel, think, and declare within yourself becomes the script your reality must perform. You are the author of your new chapter, and creation is obeying your faith-filled direction. Walk in joy, walk in peace, and know that everything is working for your highest good. The change is here, and it carries your name. Thank you for listening. May you continue to walk in faith, speak with power, and live in the awareness that the shift has already begun, and it is working in your favor. There comes a moment in every life where confusion, delay, and uncertainty whisper the lie that nothing is happening. Yet beneath the surface, beyond the appearances, something greater is unfolding. A divine orchestration is already underway on your behalf. Everything is turning in your favor, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because God works through the unseen long before anything becomes visible. Life responds not to the noise of fear, but to the quiet conviction held in the depths of your being. The state you occupy within, the inner feeling you return to again and again, becomes the instruction that the universe must obey. When you dare to assume that things are working out for you, that assumption becomes a command, and the one who created the universe fulfills his commands with precision. What you desire is not random. It is a whisper from God, a signal that the fulfillment already exists within you. The moment you feel the desire, the solution is born. The path is prepared. The way is opened. The invisible machinery of life begins shifting, aligning, and rearranging everything necessary to bring the unseen into the seen. But you must persist, not in struggle, not in force, but in inner acceptance. Your victory is secured the moment you claim it within. The outer world, no matter how stubborn it appears, has no choice but to return the reflection of your inner certainty. Every delay, every detour, every closed door is part of a sacred reorganization that is leading you to the version of life that matches the state you have chosen. This is why you must not panic when things look opposite of what you prayed for. That is often the moment right before the breakthrough, the moment when the old reality collapses to make space for the new. The shaking is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that God is rearranging everything for your good. Stand firm. Hold the feeling of the fulfilled desire. Let the inner conviction become more real to you than any temporary obstacle. The world outside is simply catching up to the truth you already established within. Everything is turning in your favor. Doors you thought were closed will open. People who overlooked you will suddenly recognize you. Opportunities that seemed impossible will enter naturally. Every step you take is guided. Every moment is supported. You are not forgotten. You are not behind, and you are not alone. God is working in ways you cannot yet see. So rise today with confidence, not the confidence of the outer world, but the confidence of one who knows the end is already written. Your blessing is not in the distance, it is unfolding right now. Your breakthrough is not delayed, it is aligning perfectly. And your victory is not uncertain, it is guaranteed. Hold the vision, trust the process, rest in the knowing. Everything is turning in your favor. God is working. And your inner assumption is the seed that bends outer circumstances in your favor. Because everything you experience begins first as an invisible state within you. Life is not responding to what you hope for or even what you occasionally think about. It responds to the deep subconscious assumptions you carry. These assumptions act like commands, shaping how you interpret events, how you react, and ultimately how the world mirrors itself back to you. When you hold an assumption long enough, it becomes the lens through which you see life, and life, in turn, complies with that lens. Assumptions are not weak wishes, they are rooted feelings of this is who I am, or this is how life is for me. Once accepted, they no longer feel like thoughts, they feel like truth. And the moment something feels like truth, it begins to shape reality. Just like a seed planted in fertile soil, your assumption is planted in the deeper mind. Quietly, subtly, invisibly, nothing may seem to change at first, but beneath the surface, the conditions begin aligning. People will show up differently. Opportunities you once overlooked will suddenly stand out. Ideas will come to you with clarity. Your emotions will shift. Your decisions will become more aligned. You won't even realize how much your behavior, energy, and perception are being shaped by the new inner belief. This is why the outer world bends, because your inner state moves first, and everything outside eventually must respond. When you assume something long enough, you start acting like it's already done. You think from the state instead of about the state. For example, someone who assumes they are successful doesn't wait for money to feel abundant. They carry an inner security, a quiet confidence, and this confidence influences their actions. Doors open not because they force them, but because their inner certainty creates a vibration of readiness that life recognizes. The world does not change by effort alone. It changes because your assumption determines what you expect, what you accept, and what you allow yourself to experience. When you assume life is working out for you, setbacks lose their power. They stop feeling like endings and start feeling like rearrangements. You walk with a calm sense of direction, even when the path is unclear, because your inner world has already accepted the outcome. Every great shift begins in the unseen. Seeds do not sprout instantly, yet the growth is happening beneath the soil long before it appears above ground. Your assumption works the same way. The moment you plant it, life begins adjusting itself to match. You may not witness the changes immediately, but the process is active. Circumstances will shift. People will change their minds. Unexpected help will appear. Events will align in ways you could never logically predict. This is why guarding your inner assumptions is so important. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. The true power lies in choosing what you accept is true about yourself and your future. When your inner assumption is in harmony with your desire, the outer world must eventually reflect it. It has no choice. Reality bends to the certainty you hold within. What you deeply accept as true in imagination begins to arrange itself in the seen world. Because imagination is not a place of fantasy, it is the workshop of creation. Every transformation, every breakthrough, every manifestation first takes form in the unseen. When you accept something as true in your inner world, you are shaping the blueprint that your outer world must eventually follow. The imagination is not passive. It is the creative engine of your reality. It is the realm where you plant the patterns that life later expresses in physical form. Most people assume that imagination is separate from reality, something that belongs to daydreams or idle thoughts. But the truth is far more powerful. Your imagination determines what you believe, and what you believe determines what you experience. When you imagine something with conviction and allow it to feel real, you shift your inner state. This acceptance must be deep, not a passing thought, not a hopeful wish, but a quiet inner knowing. It's the moment when you no longer question whether you will receive what you desire because you already possess it in feeling. The mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. When you hold the end result in your imagination long enough, your subconscious accepts it. And once accepted, it becomes a command to the universe. The outer world responds to this command through a chain of events that can seem miraculous. People show up at the right time, opportunities align, inspiration flows, circumstances shift. You are guided toward the very thing you imagined, and the thing you imagined is guided toward you. It is not coincidence. It is the natural unfolding of a reality you formed internally. This is why imagination must be used deliberately. If you imagine worst-case scenarios, you instruct life to fulfill them. If you dwell on fear, lack, or rejection, you embed those states into your subconscious. But when you imagine the fulfilled desire, peacefully, consistently, and with emotional acceptance, you give life a new shape to express. Imagination is the bridge between who you currently are and who you are becoming. When you step into the scene of your desired outcome and feel the joy, relief, or gratitude of it being done, you elevate your state of being. That elevated state influences how you speak, how you move, what you notice, and how you respond. Your actions become aligned without strain. Your energy becomes magnetic without effort, and slowly the world bends. Reality reshuffles itself around your new inner truth. That is why some people appear to be lucky. They have unconsciously accepted good outcomes in their imagination for so long that life naturally reflects them. What you accept within, you eventually encounter without. Your imagination is not just a tool, it is the birthplace of all future experience. When you choose to accept something as true inwardly, you give it permission to manifest outwardly. Everything begins there. Everything takes shape there. And the moment you claim a new reality in imagination, the seen world begins preparing a path for its arrival. Your desires are divine signals, proof that the outcome already exists within you. Because a true desire does not come from lack, but from the deeper part of you that already knows what is possible. Desire is not an accident or a random longing. It is communication from the higher self, from the divine intelligence within, reminding you of what you are meant to experience. The very moment you feel a desire, the fulfillment of it is born in the unseen. You are not longing for something outside of you. You are remembering something that is already yours. in potential. Desire is the evidence of the seed. Just as a seed contains the entire blueprint of the tree, your desire contains the blueprint of the manifestation. You would not even be able to conceive the desire if the fulfillment did not already exist on some level of your being. This is why the desire feels alive, why it continues to return, why it refuses to disappear. It is not trying to torture you with what you cannot have. It is trying to show you what is already aligned with your destiny. Many people treat desire as a sign of absence. They believe that wanting something means they are far from it. But the truth is the opposite. You feel desire because the reality of it is already prepared. You sense the next chapter before it arrives. Your inner being pulls you forward by giving you the feeling of longing, an inner echo of the life waiting for you. Desire is a preview of your future, not a reminder of what you lack. If you truly lacked the ability to achieve something, you would not even want it. A fish does not desire to climb mountains. A lion does not desire to swim oceans. They only desire what is natural to their nature. Similarly, the desires placed within you match your spiritual nature, your talents, your path, and your soul's evolution. You desire what is aligned with who you are becoming. This is why you must never feel guilty or ashamed for wanting more. The desire itself is divine. It is God's way of expanding you, guiding you, and directing your growth. When you suppress desire, you suppress the very guidance that was meant to elevate your life. When you accept desire, you step into harmony with your higher purpose. Every desire carries within it the power, the pathway, and the provision for its fulfillment. You are never given a desire without also being given the ability to realize it. The outer conditions do not matter. What matters is the inner recognition that the desire is not a request, it is an announcement. It is your higher self revealing what is already true in the invisible realm, waiting to be expressed in the visible world. So honor your desires. They are not fantasies, they are not selfish. They are not foolish. They are sacred messages. They are inner confirmations that the life you envision is not only possible, it already exists as a finished reality within you. And the moment you accept this truth, you stop chasing your desires and begin aligning with them. You stop forcing and start allowing. You stop doubting and start embodying. Your desires are divine signals. They are proof that the next version of your life is ready. All that is required from you is trust, acceptance, and the courage to believe that what you long for is simply the echo of what is already yours. God works through your inner state, not external conditions, because the true center of creation is not the world you see, but the world you hold within. External circumstances are only reflections, shadows cast by the deeper reality you sustain in your mind and heart. When your inner state changes, life must eventually rearrange itself to reflect that change. God does not work through the noise of appearances. He works through the quiet realm of consciousness, where your beliefs, emotions, and assumptions live. This is the place where transformation begins, long before any evidence shows itself. Most people try to fix life from the outside. They try to change situations, control people, or manipulate circumstances, believing that the external world is the cause of their experience. But the external world is only the effect. It is a mirror. It cannot bring you what you have not first accepted internally. God works by shifting your state of being, your sense of identity, your inner certainty, your dominant feeling. Once that inner state is established, the outer world is compelled to reflect it. This is why two people can face the same situation yet experience completely different outcomes. One sees failure, the other sees possibility. One feels defeated, the other feels guided. The situation is identical, but the states are different. And because the states are different, the results are different. God is not limited by the circumstance, He is limited only by the state you choose to occupy. Your inner state is the doorway through which the divine operates. When you hold a state of peace, things begin to align in ways you couldn't orchestrate. When you hold a state of abundance, opportunities appear that were previously invisible. When you hold a state of confidence, doors open because you walk differently, speak differently, and carry a different energy. The outer adjustments seem miraculous, but they are simply the natural response to an inner shift. Even when life looks impossible externally, God is not hindered. He moves through the realm that is untouched by limitation, your inner world. There He plants new convictions, new desires, new visions. There He reshapes your expectations, and as your expectations change, your life changes. External conditions may look stubborn at first, but they cannot resist the power of a fully claimed inner state. This is why prayer, imagination, and belief are so effective. They are tools that alter your inner condition. They elevate your state to match the outcome you seek. Once the inner state is aligned, the outer world must bend. It may take time for the physical rearrangement to unfold, but the moment your inner state shifts, the outcome is already guaranteed. God does not need perfect timing, perfect circumstances, or perfect people to bless you. He needs only your willingness to occupy the state that matches the blessing. The inner state is the signal, the outer world is the echo. When the signal changes, the echo must follow. Everything you desire begins with a shift within. Change the inner state, and the external conditions, no matter how fixed they seem, will eventually transform. God works from the inside out, and once the inside is aligned, the outside cannot remain the same. When you persist in the end, life reorganizes itself to fulfill your inner conviction, because persistence is the act of choosing your reality from within, regardless of what the outer world temporarily shows you. Persistence is not force, it is not struggle, it is the steady decision to remain loyal to the vision you have accepted as true. The inner end you hold, whether it is abundance, healing, love, success, or peace, becomes the blueprint that reality must eventually align with. When you persist, you are declaring that your inner truth is more real to you than current circumstances, and life has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. The outer world is fluid, constantly shifting in response to the states you occupy. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you stabilize your inner world. You hold a specific frequency, a specific assumption, a specific identity. This stability sends a clear signal to the universe, and everything around you begins to move in ways that match that signal. Things you once called obstacles begin turning into pathways. People who seemed indifferent suddenly become helpful. Events that once appeared random begin aligning with precision. Persistence is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Many people plant the seed of a desire but uproot it too quickly because they are discouraged by temporary appearances. They look outside, see no immediate evidence, and assume nothing is happening. But persistence understands that everything is happening, even when nothing appears to be happening. The moment you claim the end within, The universe begins its work behind the scenes. Your job is not to monitor the outer world. Your job is to maintain the inner conviction. And when you persist, you dissolve doubt, you silence the old stories that try to pull you back into limitation. You stop negotiating with fear and begin aligning with faith. Persistence makes you unshakable because you are no longer waiting for the world to confirm your desire. You have already accepted it as done within yourself. This inner acceptance is what forces the outer world to reorganize. Life bends to the one who refuses to give up their inner truth, not because they are stubborn, but because they are aligned. Persistence activates spiritual laws that bring forth the exact experiences your inner state demands. It draws resources, ideas, and opportunities into your path. It dissolves barriers that once looked solid. It reveals solutions you couldn't see before. Even the things that appear to go wrong become part of the rearrangement, redirecting you toward the fulfillment of your imagined end. Persistence does not make the journey harder, it makes it inevitable. It signals that you are done wavering between possibilities and have chosen your outcome. And once the choice is made, everything moves to support it. The universe cannot resist the power of a sustained inner conviction. It must reflect what you consistently assume as true. So persist. Not with tension, but with quiet confidence. Stay loyal to the end you have chosen. Feel it, inhabit it, live from it. Let it become your inner home. When you persist in the end, life is compelled to adjust itself in your favor. The pieces will come together. The timing will align. The impossibilities will dissolve. Your inner conviction will carve the path, and the outer world will follow. In the end, everything you seek begins and ends within you. Your assumptions shape your path. Your imagination plants the seeds of your future. Your desires signal what is already yours. And your inner state becomes the channel through which God moves. When you stand firm, in the end, life has no choice but to reorganize itself around your conviction. What once looked impossible begins to unfold naturally. What felt distant begins to move closer. And what you claimed within becomes what you live without. Trust the process. Honor the inner guidance, and remain loyal to the vision that has been placed in your heart. Everything is working for your good, and everything is turning in your favor. Thank you. There comes a moment in your life when you must understand a truth so profound, so transformative, that it alters the very lens through which you see your world. Everything you asked for is already making its way to you. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. In this very moment, your desires are aligning, arranging, and gathering themselves into form. You may ask, how do I know this? Because the very fact that you desire a thing is the proof that it already exists in you. Desire is not a signal of lack. Desire is a divine announcement. It is life saying, here is what is ready to be expressed through you. Your imagination is the first stage of creation. The inner vision you hold is the unseen blueprint of your future. When you close your eyes and see the scene of your wish fulfilled, you are not fantasizing, you are creating. You are participating in the rearrangement of your world. And let me tell you something powerful. Your world is obedient to your inner state. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. When you embody the state of the fulfilled dream, the world cannot resist it. It must reflect it. Every desire you carry is already complete in the unseen. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the version of yourself who already has it. And once you step into that identity, life must reorganize itself to match it. People move, opportunities appear, doors open, circumstances shift, not by chance, but by law. The law is simple: as within, so without. Your inner world is the cause, your outer world is the effect. So today, I want you to understand that nothing is working against you. Even what appears as delay, even what appears as confusion, even what appears as silence, all of it is part of the reorganization of life in your favor. You may not see it yet, but behind the scenes, all pieces are moving. That phone call you need is aligning. That money you asked for is finding its path. That opportunity you prayed for is making its way to your doorstep. That relationship you longed for is preparing to intersect with your timeline. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor. But here is the key. You must hold the state. You must persist in the assumption. You must walk as if it is already yours. Because the world responds not to your words, but to your conviction. When doubt whispers, return to your inner vision. When fear rises, return to the feeling of fulfillment. When the world shows you something opposite, ignore it, because you are not living from the world. You are living from the end. Live in the certainty that it is done. Live in the gratitude of its completion. Live in the quiet confidence that you are the operant power of your reality. And then watch how effortlessly life bends. Watch how creation flows. Watch how your world transforms without strain or force. Everything you asked for is coming. Everything you asked for is unfolding. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor because you dared to assume it, feel it, and claim it. So walk today with your head high, with your heart steady, and with your spirit anchored in the truth. Your desires are not in the future, they are now. Imagination is not a daydream, not a passing picture, not a mental escape. It is the first and most reliable evidence that your desire is already coming into form. The moment you imagine something clearly and feel it deeply, you are witnessing the earliest stage of its manifestation. What you see within is not separate from your outer world. It is the seed that grows into it. Every creation begins in the unseen, and imagination is the blueprint, the foundation, the quiet announcement that something new has already begun. When you imagine your desire as fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are perceiving reality from a higher dimension. Your inner vision is the first stage of creation, the spiritual prototype that precedes its physical expression. Think of imagination as the womb of your future. Before anything becomes visible, it must first be conceived. And that conception happens the moment you dare to imagine your wish as already accomplished. The mistake most people make is believing that imagination is just in the mind, something less important, less real than the physical world. But the truth is the opposite. The outer world is nothing more than the delayed reflection of the inner world. The physical realm is slow, dense, and reactive. It responds to what you consistently hold within. Every event, every opportunity, Every shift in your life begins its journey in your imagination. When you close your eyes and see the scene of your wish fulfilled, you are entering the reality where your desire already exists. You are aligning yourself with the version of you who has it. And once you align with that version, the outer world must reshape itself to match the inner state you've occupied. Imagination is not fantasy, it is causation. It sets the direction of your life. It initiates the movement of unseen forces that guide circumstances, people, and opportunities into place. Imagination gives you the first taste of the life you are creating. It reveals the direction of your becoming. Even before anything happens physically, you already know what is coming because you've witnessed it in your inner space. And if the image feels powerful, if it feels real, if it awakens a sense of completion within you, then you can rest assured. Manifestation has already begun. The inner picture is not a possibility, it is a preview. It is the early confirmation that creation is in motion. You do not need to see evidence in the physical world to trust your desire. You only need to trust the inner experience that showed itself to you first. That feeling of clarity, that satisfaction of imagining the end, that subtle knowing, that is the earliest proof that it is already yours. Imagination is the first evidence because creation always begins from the inside out. When you consistently return to the vision, when you dwell in it, when you make it more real than the circumstances around you, you accelerate the process. You fertilize the seed. You strengthen the blueprint. You magnetize the outcome. Assuming the feeling of fulfillment is the most powerful act you can perform in the process of manifestation. It is not the words you speak, not the affirmations you repeat, not even the vision you hold. It is the feeling of the wish fulfilled that seals your creation. The moment you can emotionally and internally experience your desire as already done, creation is complete. Nothing else needs to be added. Nothing else needs to be pushed, forced, or chased. The inner completion guarantees the outer expression. Feeling is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. When you adopt the emotional state of already having what you desire, you shift your identity. You step into the version of yourself who lives the reality you want. Every manifestation begins with a state of being, and your state is determined by the feelings you choose to dwell in. Once you assume the feeling of fulfillment, you are no longer hoping for your desire, you are living from it. This inner shift is everything. Most people live in the state of wanting, waiting, or worrying, and because their emotional state reflects lack, their world reflects the same. Wanting only produces more wanting, but when you feel satisfied, grateful, confident, and complete, even though nothing has physically happened yet, you have altered the root cause of creation, you have changed your inner world, and therefore the outer must follow. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not about pretending or imagining randomly. It is an inward acceptance that the desire is yours now. It is the deep breath of someone who is no longer striving. It is the calm certainty that comes when you no longer question whether it will happen because in your inner world it already has. You inhabit the end. You rest in the completed state. And once you rest in that state long enough, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to match what you feel within. The moment you feel it real, the old version of you dissolves. You stop identifying as the person who is lacking and begin living as the person who is fulfilled. This internal identity shift is what moves the outer world. Your subconscious mind takes your assumed feeling as fact. It does not question whether the feeling comes from physical reality or mental reality. It simply accepts the feeling as your truth and begins to produce experiences that match it. This is why, the moment you enter the feeling of completion, creation is done. You no longer need external validation or proof. You no longer need to check the progress or wonder how it will happen. The seed has been planted, the blueprint finalized, the outcome secured. Your only job is to dwell in that emotional knowing, returning to it whenever doubt or appearances try to pull you out. With repetition, the feeling becomes natural, and once it becomes natural, manifestation happens effortlessly. Life conspires to reflect your assumed state. People show up, events unfold, opportunities appear, not because you chase them, but because your emotional reality made them inevitable. If you can't decide, a system like this will inevitably. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into the creative power that shapes worlds. You declare through your state that the desire is already yours. And once you do that sincerely and consistently, the physical world has no choice but to reveal what you have already accepted internally. Creation is finished the moment you feel it real. Everything after that is simply the world catching up. Your state of being is the silent architect behind every experience you attract, every opportunity you meet, and every challenge you face. It is not your effort, your struggle, or even your intentions that shape your world. It is the state you consistently occupy within yourself. Your inner state is the cause. Your outer world is the effect. When you change the cause, the effect must transform. Life is not reacting to your words. It is responding to your vibration, your assumptions, your mood, your expectations, and the internal identity you hold from moment to moment. Most people try to change their lives by rearranging external conditions. They try to fix problems, chase opportunities, or push their way into new circumstances. But all of these efforts are temporary because they address only the surface. The true shift happens when you alter your internal state, the emotional and mental atmosphere you live in. Your state of being determines the lens through which you perceive life. And because perception creates interpretation and interpretation creates experience, your state is the foundation of everything you encounter. If you live in a state of fear, the world appears threatening. If you live in a state of lack, everything feels scarce. If you live in a state of doubt, opportunities seem distant. But if you live in a state of certainty, everything aligns in your favor. If you live in a state of gratitude, life becomes abundant. If you live in a state of fulfillment, your desires flow to you effortlessly. Your state is not something that happens to you, it is something you choose, consciously or unconsciously. And once chosen, it becomes your point of attraction. The world mirrors what you radiate from within. This is why people with similar circumstances can have completely different outcomes. One person, living in a state of defeat, sees obstacles everywhere. Another, living in a state of confidence, sees openings, solutions, and pathways forward. Changing your state is not about forcing positive thinking. It is about aligning with the version of you who already has what you want. When you shift your internal identity from someone who is struggling to someone who is evolving, from someone who lacks to someone who receives, from someone who doubts to someone who knows, your outer world must rearranges itself around your state the way iron filings rearrange themselves around a magnet. You do not force the movement, Your state causes it naturally. This is the reason state work is more powerful than effort, action, or strategy. When your state aligns with your desire, action becomes inspired, opportunities feel guided, and outcomes arrive in ways you could never have orchestrated. You no longer move through life trying to manipulate conditions. You move through life transforming yourself, knowing the world will follow. The most freeing truth you can embrace is this: your world cannot resist your inner state. It must conform to it. This means that the moment you shift your inner being, the outer must begin shifting as well. It may not happen instantly, but the momentum begins immediately. Everything starts moving toward the reality that matches who you are being. What you desire is not something you must chase, struggle for, or beg the universe to deliver. It already exists in the unseen, complete and whole, waiting for your alignment. Desire is not a signal that something is missing. Desire is the evidence that the version of you who already has what you want is calling you forward. You are not creating something out of nothing. You are tuning yourself to the frequency where that reality is already true. Everything you could ever ask for exists in the realm of possibility. The moment you imagine it, the moment you feel its truth, the moment you sense its presence in your inner world, you are touching the reality that is already formed. You do not manifest by forcing. You manifest by becoming the person who naturally receives it. The desire itself is a bridge between the version of you who craves it and the version of you who already lives it. When you stop chasing and start aligning, everything changes. Chasing is rooted in lack, in the belief that you don't have it yet, that it's far away, that you must work harder or prove your worth. Alignment, however, is rooted in knowing. It is rooted in the awareness that your desire is part of your story, part of your path, part of your identity. You align with your desire by thinking, feeling, and behaving like the version of you who already has it. The outer world then adjusts to match your inner conviction. The universe does not withhold anything from you. It simply reflects the state you occupy. When you live in the state of wanting, you continue to experience lack. But when you live in the state of having, even before it appears, the world must deliver the form that corresponds to your inner reality. You are not waiting for it to exist. You are waiting for yourself to match its frequency. Everything you desire exists as a possibility that becomes visible the moment you align with it internally. Just like a radio signal is invisible until you tune the dial, your desires remain unseen until your beliefs, emotions, and assumptions tune to their channel. You are not searching for something outside of you. You are awakening something within you. This is why the most important work you can do is not external, but internal. The moment you shift your assumptions, the moment you believe it is yours, the moment you feel the truth of its presence, the moment you accept its inevitability, you open the door. Opportunities appear, people arrive, resources flow, and circumstances rearrange themselves. Not because you chase them, but because you align with a reality where they were already waiting. Nothing you desire is out of reach. If you can imagine it, it exists. If you can feel it, it is forming. If you can align with it, it is yours. There is no gap between you and your desire except the gap created by your state. Once you close that gap by embodying the version of yourself who has already received it, the physical world must catch up. You are not chasing your dream is calling you. You are not searching for your manifestation is seeking alignment with you. Everything you desire already exists, and the moment you align with it, it reveals itself effortlessly. Persistence is the quiet force that turns an inner vision into an outer reality. It is the discipline of holding on to your imagined end, even when the world seems to contradict it. Manifestation is not a single moment of visualization or a brief burst of belief. It is the continual returning to the state of the wish fulfilled until it becomes your natural way of being. Persistence is what separates fleeting desires from inevitable outcomes. It is the bridge between imagination and materialization. When you first imagine your desire fulfilled, you plant a seed. But just like any seed, it takes time to grow. During that period, nothing may seem to be happening on the surface. Circumstances may look unchanged, people may behave the same, your outer world may even appear to contradict your inner knowing. This is the critical stage, the stage where persistence is required. Most people give up here, believing the silence means nothing is moving. But everything is moving. The roots are forming, the unseen is shifting, and the invisible forces are aligning your path. Persistence ensures you stay aligned long enough for the unseen to become seen. Persistence is not struggle. It is not forcing. It is not trying to make something happen. It is simply remaining loyal to your inner vision, regardless of external appearances. It is choosing the imagined truth over the temporary facts. It is keeping your inner state steady and unwavering, even when the outer world tries to provoke doubt. To persist is to refuse to be persuaded by what is currently visible, because you know the visible is always the last stage of creation. Your emotions, thoughts, and assumptions have momentum. The longer you stay in the state of your accomplished desire, the stronger that momentum becomes. Each time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you reinforce the blueprint of your new reality. You feed it, strengthen it, energize it, and eventually it becomes the dominant state, the version of yourself that feels natural. Once the new state becomes natural, manifestation must follow. Persistence is what turns a temporary assumption into a permanent identity. The world will always test your commitment to your desire, not because you are unworthy, but because old states of consciousness linger and try to pull you back into familiar patterns. If you fall for these appearances, you recreate the old reality. But if you stand firm in your new assumption, the old must dissolve. Persistence dissolves resistance. Persistence overrides doubt. Persistence breaks the cycle of old patterns and anchors you into a new timeline. The key is consistency, not perfection. You are not required to feel unwavering belief every second of the day. You simply need to return again and again to your vision. Each return is an act of power. Each return is a declaration of faith. Each return moves you deeper into alignment. Persistence transforms into certainty. You stop wondering if it will happen and begin knowing when it happens, it will feel natural. Your desire becomes inevitable because you have remained faithful to it in the unseen. And once you persist long enough, the outer world must conform. It has no choice. Your persistence has become the law that shapes your reality. Life is always responding to the assumptions you hold within yourself, whether you do so consciously or unconsciously. Your assumptions act like silent commands, directing the flow of circumstances, shaping the behavior of people around you, and influencing the events that unfold in your daily life. You are not at the mercy of chance or luck. You are directing your reality through the beliefs you consistently embody. When you assume something with conviction, the entire world begins rearranging itself to make that assumption true. Assumptions are more powerful than wishes, hopes, or surface level thoughts. An assumption is something you accept as true even before you see proof. It is the inner declaration that this is already mine, this is who I am, or this is how my life unfolds. Once you accept an assumption, your subconscious mind begins to operate from it as if it were fact. From that moment on, life starts moving in alignment with that inner truth. The outer world cannot remain unchanged when the inner world has shifted, and remain unchanged when the inner world has shifted. Circumstances that once seemed fixed begin to soften and bend. Situations that appeared stuck suddenly open. Opportunities you never expected begin to appear. People you've never met start entering your path. Others who were previously indifferent or closed off become receptive and supportive. All of this happens not because you forced anything, but because your inner conviction created a new energetic pattern for life to follow. This rearrangement is not always visible at first. Much happens behind the scenes, beyond your awareness. Events align in ways your conscious mind could never orchestrate. The right person gets an idea, makes a decision, or has a change of heart at exactly the right time. A door that seemed permanently shut swings open effortlessly. A situation that once felt like a barrier suddenly dissolves. These shifts are not random. They are responses to your assumption. Your assumption is like a magnet. Once you hold it firmly and consistently, everything that matches it is drawn into your experience, and everything that contradicts it begins to lose power. If you assume that you are successful, life will find ways to confirm that assumption. If you assume that you are loved and valued, people will start treating you accordingly. If you assume that things always work out for you, you will see events reorganize themselves to ensure that outcome. Most people make the mistake of waiting for circumstances to change before changing their assumptions. But the law works in reverse. Circumstances change because assumptions change. If you continue to react to your current environment, you remain trapped in the same pattern. But the moment you adopt a new assumption, even if your world stays the same for a while, you set a new direction for your life. The outer must adjust to the new inner order. Life is not resisting you. It is shaped by you. It listens to the tone of your inner dialogue and mirrors it back to you in the form of events and experiences. When your assumptions are strong, consistent, and rooted in your desired outcome, the world has no choice but to bend to them. In the end, everything we desire, everything we hope for, and everything we dream about begins within us. The imagination you trust, the feeling you assume, the state you inhabit, the belief that your desire already exists. These are not small acts. They are the forces that shape your reality. When you persist in your inner vision and remain faithful to the end, you have already claimed life has no choice but to respond. Circumstances shift, pathways open, and the world reorganizes itself around your conviction. Hence, you are not waiting for your future, you are creating it from the inside out. And the moment you decide to live as the fulfilled version of yourself, everything you asked for starts moving toward you, not by chance, but by law, not by luck, but by alignment. Everything you asked for is manifesting in your favor because you dared to imagine it, feel it, believe it, and persist in it.